What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Digital Painting Art Show. My name is Jesus Conde, and today we're going to be using the clone tool. We're going to be talking about this painting. I'm going to be explaining you how I paint this because it's a continuation of the last chapter. We're going to be doing some integration at the end with the background, with the painting, all the stuff. And I wanted to tell you that I got in my Patreon page. I'm going to be uploading the PSDs and the videos, the full process videos of these tutorials. That means without the editing of the tutorials. I mean the whole process from start to end, so you can see, you can pause it, you can see with detail everything that I did to getting the result. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to be talking to you about the clone tool, and first I'm going to show you really quick what I did with this painting and the clone tool, and then I'm going to explain you how to use it. So these are the techniques that I used when I need more background and I don't have enough background for the painting. So I just copy, clone, I do all this stuff. And now I'm going to explain you what are these tools, how do you use this tool, the clone tool and the transformation tool. It's really easy though, it's not hard at all. So now I'm going to explain to you with detail what is this all about. Okay, so the clone tool basically works with the letter S on the keyboard. Is also this icon right there. So with the letter S you can use it. I use it better with a soft brush. That's the one that I'm using right there. And what we need to do is kind of find the pattern. So I have these windows right here, and I want to make a pattern from top to bottom, so you can see how they repeat. If you press the letter the Alt key, you can select where you're going to start cloning from. So if I press the Alt key, I get this little icon right there, this little point, like a target. So if I press it right here, and then I just stop using the Alt key and use the brush as I was normally painting, what it does is it copy from that source. So the Alt is to establish what source we're going to use. So I'm going to pick one of these windows, and I'm going to start copying. I'm going to copy this window, and I'm going to start copying in this other window right here, so I can kind of match the same how can I say that, inclination that the building has and everything. So it's really easy way to get aligned with the rest of the things I have in the scene. Same with this tube right here. I'm going to select that part there, and I'm going to continue cloning from this part. It's really cheap effect what you see in there, but I'm just trying to explain you how it works. I will actually like to do this in another way, and I did it with the selection. What is this square right here? I just click that icon, and I select what I want to copy. I press Ctrl C and Ctrl V to paste what I selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Control key on the keyboard. So with the Control key, you're going to use the transform tool, but you have to be aware that this right here is activated. That thing right there is activated because you need to see the transform controls, which are those little gizmos right there that allow you to move the thing around. And the way you do this, move the corners like this, is by pressing the Control key. If you don't press the Control key, this won't work at all. So what I'm doing with this is trying to match the perspective of these tubes, and I can do it because I'm using the Control key. So it's kind of like a cheap effect, really, but it gives me a great base for what I'm going to do right now, which is making a better background for my painting. Okay, so this part of the process, what I'm doing right now is I need to make my painting more paintable. Like I need to get the things more clean. I need to establish every shadow, every highlight that I'm going to be using, all the stuff. I need to get things straight with my painting. If I don't do this process, what's going to happen is that you're going to be painting this kind of like if you were blind. You're going to be painting this and you don't know exactly what's the next step. So what we want right here, if you saw the last episode, I put a bunch of pictures of a lot of clothes, red and black, because I wanted to get things moving. Like I wanted speed on my process. So what I'm going to do right now is slow down a little bit, and I'm going to make everything look clear enough so I can understand what's going on. So what I'm doing is getting my shadows slowly, like picking colors with the eyedropper. The eyedropper is with the eye on the keyboard, of course, you already know that. And what I'm doing is getting everything clear. I'm doing this thing right here. I'm trying things with the hands, like a kind of like a gloves. I didn't like it, so I just continue with something else, stuff like that. So notice that I'm just using the eyedropper and painting here and there so I can get the colors on my painting. What I'm doing right here is just picking colors with the eyedropper and putting them on the hammer, because I need to integrate the colors, the shadow colors with the background. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to copy the layer of the character, and I'm going to use adjustments, image adjustments, brightness and contrast to get the values down. And I'm going to get a dark version of this character. See? Okay, here we go. So I get a dark version of her. I put the light version under, and I erase where I want the light. That way I can get a really fast rough version of the lighting that I want. It's really quick result. So I really like this technique. I'm not sure when I started to use it. I'm not sure at all if I invented it. So here is the other part of this. I'm doing the opposite. I made the image lighter, and I put it under the dark version, and now when I erase, I get the bright colors. So it's a really simple way to get light and dark. I know some people might see this like a cheap technique, but it does work, and it works great on dark ambient because you don't have too much fill colors. This is perfect for dark environments because you don't have too much fill colors like a sky color, the ground color, stuff like that. So it works perfect for this kind of a scene. So now what I'm doing is establishing where are my cast shadows. Cast shadows are the shadows that are you have an object and you have another object in front of that one, and it blocks the light to the second object, so you get the shadow cast by the first object. And that's basically the principle of the cast shadow. And I want you to notice that what I'm doing right now is kind of like everything at once. I'm trying to paint to get all the stuff I know at the same time. Here I'm picking colors from the scene. I picked that little brown color. Here I'm picking that from the background because I want to integrate the lighting of the background with the lighting of the character. If you have white, gray, or black areas, surfaces, you can do this really quick. But the color, for example, the red doesn't react the same way to the light. Here, what I'm doing is in the black I can do that, but I cannot do it that simple with the red, because the red, what will happen with the light is that it gets more saturated. It gets more red. It doesn't get white because the light is white. It gets more red. But the dark, depending on what the material is, you could get some white, you could get some blue, how I'm painting right now, but doesn't happen the same with the red color. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay, so how I told you, what I'm doing right now is getting everything ready. You have to get everything ready before starting to paint the details, because the detail is the last thing you want to think of, the last thing, the final touches. So you need to be clear about your lighting, and something I only like something at this point. I needed more brightness on some parts. Here I'm adding a little bit of backlight. Of course, the backlight in the red hair will be red, not white, so that's why I changed it. Doing it in another layer, of course, because you never know when you're going to make a mistake. And in fact, I used the image adjustments, hue and saturation, to change a little the color, because I wasn't sure of what color to use, and I only was able to do that because I did in another layer. If I were doing it in the same layer, I would be completely dead in that part of the process. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select some parts. I'm going to select some parts and I'm going to make them brighter with the same technique that I would use a few minutes ago, with the brightness and contrast, because I want some parts to be more bright. I need more volume in my image. So I'm selecting here with the selection lace or lasso. I'm not sure how it's called in English. I'm just selecting, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to image adjustment, brightness and contrast, and I'm going to make it brighter. I copied that though. I copied it because I wasn't sure how it was going to look at the end. So you better do that too. I did it in another parts. Here I'm like checking where can I use this again. Kind of like interpreting, kind of like seeing, okay, how's my lighting working on this image, and you should try to make it interesting as possible. And a way to do that is by doing this, like selecting some parts of the image only, like the light is hitting those parts and anything else. So it gives kind of like a mysterious look instead of just a flat lighting that you can get. So I'm doing all this before the detail, because the detail is going to be a really funny part. So I have these lines here because I have a technique where when I'm going to do the details, I work on a 30%. I put a 30% there, but sometimes I use 40, 20, 50. But what I do is I break the image in several parts, like 5 or 6 parts for in this case, because it's a character. But if it was like a big painting, it will be like, I don't know, something crazy, like 20, 30. Sometimes I have get to 50 parts. And what I do is I use a timer, and I put the timer in a some kind of like a, I don't know, 20 to 25 minutes, and I spend that amount of time, no matter what, doing the details of the image. So what's going to happen there is you probably get bored, because it's a really mechanic technique. It's not that artistic, I guess. But what's going to happen is that you're going to get a really detailed image. I kind of developed this technique. I don't know if somebody else used it, but when I thought of it, I thought that I invented it. So I don't know if I'm just having delusions. But anyway, I developed it because I needed to know how much time I could spend on a painting to get it right, to get it detailed. So now what I do is, depending on how many squares I have in my painting, with the grid that I do, I can make some calculations and see how much time do I have to work on this image to finish. So if I spend, let's see, I don't know, if I have 50 squares, and I have to do 25 minutes each square, it will be kind of like, let me do the math. So 50 squares multiplied by 25 minutes will be about 20, something like 21 hours, kind of. So in this one, what I did was just lines, horizontal lines, and I spent 25 minutes in each area. The head's one area, the chest another, the hips is another, the legs another, and so on. So I finished this painting in about 2 hours or something like that. So it's fine. That's a good amount of time considering the level of detail that I have to put, and it's okay because it's not a big painting. But you have to keep in mind that I didn't paint the background on this one, so that doesn't count. So and I'm doing this calculation just for the details, not for the whole image. So at least in the detail phase you can know how much time you will have to paint on the painting. And you can do it the other way around. If your client tells you only have like 2 days to finish it, okay, how many hours can I paint this thing? Let's say like 10 hours, and I put a grid and I have I don't know, let's see, 10 hours per 60 will be 600 minutes, and I have 30 squares. So I will have to do 20 minutes for each square, and you have a detailed image. I will say something like even detail, because what it bugs me is that some painting and a lot of artists will be bugged about this idea. I don't like when a painting have more detailing in some parts and less in others. I understand that some paintings do look that way and look good. What I don't like is when it's so obvious that the artist just didn't want to paint some areas because it was lazy, and I don't like that. I like the paintings to be detailed in every corner. So that's what I like, this technique that I use. So that's it, that's why I use that technique. I hope you like it, because I don't know, I feel like some people could use it and it will be good, because a lot of people think that because it's digital it's faster, and let me tell you, it is faster. You don't have to wait for the painting to dry. You don't have to do a lot of things that you will have to do in traditional painting, and that's good enough, like that's enough help. So I really don't like when people get frustrated with digital painting, because these things take time. I've done painting of I don't know, 30 to 40 hours or something like that, if you do the math. And when I see them later, I'm like, okay, I could have put a little bit more detail in this part and stuff like that. So anyway, let's continue here. Talking too much. Alright, so don't forget that I have a Patreon page now, and you can download the PSDs of every tutorial from now on with the full process video. That means the video without the editing. I'm going to put the whole video from start to end, and it's going to look at really weird stuff. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to work on the integration with the background. And I have flares, I have film grain, I have some brightness and contrast changes, all the stuff. So let's explain you a bit of that. Okay, so I have a lot of effects, and they are just adjustment layers. The adjustment layers, you can get them in this icon right here, this one. This icon will open you to the adjustment layers. We want to start with the brightness and contrast. I already have one, but here it is. I'm going to try put more contrast and brightness, do some changes. The thing about these adjustment layers is that whatever you do, you don't lose your original stuff. You you still have your material, and this is just a layer that you can turn on and off. So I'm going to be continue using the one I had. So here we are with the curves. By the way, if you want to open, just double click in the icon right there, and what's going to happen is it opens the curves. The images are RGB. I have to explain that later in another tutorial. So we have R for red, G for green, and blue, and B for blue. So I like to use the blue channel a lot. So I'm going to explain you a bit about how that works. So I'm gonna have to open a new one because I don't want to lose this one. Deactivate that, and let's go to here and curves. Alright, so we go to blue because I want to use the blue channel, and the top one, I'm going to put some gizmos to modify the curve. So the tip right here is the white, and the bottom is the dark, the black. So if you pull down the white right there, you're going to be seeing that the white looks yellow. You can see it right there. See here, that's the white. And if you pull up the darks, the black is going to look blue. It's going to look like this, kind of look like a vintage effect. So I really like it. This is exaggerated, but this is mainly what I did with my painting already. You can barely see it because I like to do things really subtle, but I already have that effect going on right here. So the next one is the hue and saturation. You can see here it's activated, but it's at 42%. You can change the opacity too. So the next one is in hue and saturation, and what I did is just make it a little bit less saturated. Less how is that a number? 18 sorry, 18 left of saturation. If I do a lot less, 100% less saturation, you will have a grayscale image. If you put it the whole way around, to the color, you will have like oversaturated. And you have lightness. I don't use it too much, and the hue, we change the colors really weird. So the only change that I did with this one was the hue and saturation. So that's the only thing you have to know. For the what do we have? We have now. All right, the flares. The flares is something that I do to integrate a little bit more, because the background looks like in another completely different place than the character. So what I do is use this really big brush, soft brush, grab the same color right here with the eyedropper, which is the letter I. Then with the B again, just click, boom, you have the color 100%. Here we go. Alright, and then I put it in screen or linear dodge, but I better use a screen. Alright, so what you do is you have this kind of like thing that it blends with the character, and it looks really cool, and it gives you a better kind of like a more blend between the character and the background. The other thing is the grain, which is something that happens to the cameras when they are filming in the dark. So I do this in two different ways. One way is to just look for an image. You can look for grain texture. I'm not sure if it works. You can look for film grain or noise texture. And you get these really tiny points, dots. You can also look for film grain, and you have these ones. But I don't like to do this too much. This is when you want something really weird. When you want something more digital and accurate, I just make a dark layer, like fill up a layer with black, and then we go to filter and put a, where are you? Okay, here are noise. Alright, noise, and then just add that one, and that amount, it's just fine. So now we put it on a screen, and it's too much, it's too hard. So what we do is just change the opacity. I change the opacity with the numbers a lot, so I just put it right there in 23%. So when you have all the effects activated, it looks kind of like this. So this is it. I hope you like it. So I wanted to remind you that you can get the PSDs and the full video, the full process video on the Patreon. I'm going to be uploading it hopefully the same Saturday or the Sunday of every week. I'm going to put the PSD and the full process video of that tutorial. The video doesn't have audio though, because it's really long, and it's everything that I do from the start of the painting till the end. If you want to support me some way else, you can do it getting this material, which is a how to paint skin tutorial of 20 pages, 2 videos, 1 hour each. It comes with all the skin tones, so you can use them. It comes with all the line arts. It comes with all the textures that I use, and it's really, because the thing is, a lot of people were asking about a material to do painting really easy. Like I want to have like a step-by-step process that I can follow. It's really easy to do. So I kind of put together this tutorial a few months ago, and a lot of people have liked it. So if you want to support me, this is one way to do it. So that's it. Thank you very much for your support. Please subscribe and get to my Patreon if you want to get the PSDs. Only a pledge of $2. You can get them all the weeks, every week, and you can get this one in the Gumroad page or the Selfie page if you use PayPal. So thank you very much, and see you on the next week then.